Chuck Norris. Just saying the name makes you feel like you are about to be roundhouse kicked in the face with a wave of testosterone. The man, the myth, the meme, he is a martial arts legend, action movie icon, and an internet superhero, immortalized by a million jokes. When Chuck Norris does a push-up, he is not lifting himself up, he is pushing the earth down. But behind the beard and beyond the jokes, there's a fascinating story of how a shy kid named Carlos Ray Norris transformed into a living legend. So, let's dive in. No karate chops necessary? It all began on March 10th, 1940, in Ryan, Oklahoma, a town that's just a little too small to contain the future force of nature that was baby Chuck. His parents, Wilma and Ray, were not martial artists, secret agents, or anything out of a spy novel. His dad worked as a bus driver and mechanic, and his mom was a homemaker. Growing up wasn't easy for young Carlos. Yep, Chuck's real first name is Carlos, but don't tell him I told you. His father struggled with alcoholism, and the family faced financial hardship, eventually moving to California. Little did the Golden State know it was about to get a whole lot tougher. School was not exactly Chuck's favorite battleground. He was not the badass we know today. In fact, he was quite the opposite. Shy, introverted, and even bullied. Hard to imagine, right? The future roundhouse king being pushed around? It's true. Chuck was quiet, unsure of himself, and not exactly the man of action type, but sometimes life's toughest moments become the fuel for greatness. After high school, Chuck decided he needed some structure and discipline, so he joined the United States Air Force in 1958. He was sent to South Korea, and here is where destiny finally decided to put Chuck on the path to roundhouse glory. In Korea, he encountered Tang Soo Do, a traditional martial art that emphasizes kicks, strikes, and of course, mastering the art of looking awesome in a GI. Took to martial arts like a roundhouse kick to the face. It was natural, powerful, and a game changer. He studied diligently, earning black belts in both Tang Soo Do and Taekwondo. The timid kid was finding his inner strength, and more importantly, he was learning how to make his enemies find the floor. Chuck left the Air Force in 1962, returning to the States with new skills and a new purpose. He opened a karate school, but it wasn't just any karate school. It was a dojo with dreams of glory. He started teaching martial arts to everyone he could, and soon enough, word spread that if you wanted to learn how to kick butt, you went to Chuck Norris. One of his early students, none other than the Hollywood elite, including Steve McQueen. Yes, the King of Cool himself wanted some of that Norris knowledge, and who could blame him? But teaching wasn't enough for Chuck. He had tasted competition in South Korea, and he wanted more. Norris began participating in tournaments, and let's just say, he didn't show up to lose. In fact, after a rough start, losing his first couple of matches, Chuck figured out what worked, an aggressive, relentless fighting style that quickly made him a legend in the ring. By 1968, he won the professional middleweight karate champion title, and he kept it for 6 consecutive years. 6 years of opponents facing that inevitable moment of, uh-oh, I'm in the ring with Chuck Norris. Now, when you are knocking out opponents like you're swatting flies, it doesn't take long for Hollywood to come calling. And it was Chuck's friend Steve McQueen who gave him the push to transition from dojo master to movie star. "You are good," McQueen said, "and people love to watch you fight. Get yourself on screen." Chuck took that advice, and in 1972, he got his first real taste of cinematic fame in a little film called Way of the Dragon. Oh, and did I mention that he starred opposite Bruce Lee, his friend and mentor? Yeah, that Bruce Lee. The showdown between Chuck Norris and Bruce Lee in the Roman Colosseum is one of the most iconic martial arts scenes ever filmed. It's two legends facing off in a no-holds-barred battle, and Chuck's magnificent chest hair deserves its own credit in the scene. Spoiler alert, Bruce wins, because it was Bruce Lee's movie after all, but Chuck's performance helped him kick down the door to Hollywood. after Way of the Dragon, Chuck began to carve out a niche for himself in the burgeoning world of action films. He wasn't the suave secret agent like James Bond, nor was he the larger-than-life superhero like Superman. Chuck was something different. An everyman who happened to have the skills to take down entire armies single-handedly. He was gritty, determined, and believable as a man who could take a punch and give one back tenfold. Movies like Good Guys Wear Black, The Octagon, and An Eye for an Eye made Chuck a household name. He was the go-to guy for action-packed, low-budget thrillers that featured plenty of bad guys being dispatched in increasingly creative ways. And then came the 1980s, a decade that practically belonged to Chuck Norris. It was during this time that he found his true home, Cannon Films, a studio known for its over-the-top, testosterone-fueled action flicks. In Lone Wolf McQuade, Chuck played a rugged Texas Ranger, foreshadowing much, who took down a drug lord played by David Carradine. And then came the Missing in Action series, where Chuck took on the role of Colonel James Braddock, a Vietnam War hero who brought justice and freedom to POWs. These films cemented Chuck's place in the Action Hall of Fame. He wasn't just an action hero, he was a one-man army, a symbol of American resilience, and a roundhouse ambassador. But it wasn't just about the movies. In 1984, Chuck Norris became a TV legend with Walker, Texas Ranger. For 8 seasons, Chuck played Cordell Walker, a Texas Ranger who dispensed justice with equal parts wisdom, cowboy boots, and karate kicks. Walker wasn't just a lawman, he was a mentor, a moral compass, and an icon for millions of viewers. Whether he was busting drug cartels, rescuing kidnapped kids, or just reminding us that crime doesn't pay, Chuck made Walker into more than a character. He made him a way of life. And then came the jokes. The Chuck Norris jokes. In the early 2000s, Chuck became an internet phenomenon thanks to jokes that reimagined him as a sort of superhuman being capable of pretty much anything. Chuck Norris can divide by zero. When Chuck Norris enters a room, he doesn't turn the lights on. He turns the dark off. You get the idea. What's remarkable is how Chuck responded. Rather than scoffing at the humor, he embraced it. He became the legend of the jokes, and that only endeared him more to the public. Not everyone can be the butt of a joke and still look like they could break you in half, but that's Chuck for you. Off-screen, Chuck Norris is more than just a martial artist or an actor. He's a philanthropist, a family man, and a man of deep faith. In 1990, he founded the Kickstart Kids program, a non-profit dedicated to teaching character development through karate in schools across Texas. Chuck believes in using martial arts to empower young people, to teach them discipline, respect, and confidence. The very same qualities that helped him transform his own life. He is also an author, having written multiple books about martial arts, exercise, philosophy, and Christianity. And while he might not be taking down armies on screen anymore, Chuck continues to make appearances, share his wisdom, and yes, occasionally deliver a well-placed roundhouse kick for old time's sake. Of course, there is one more thing that makes Chuck Norris legendary: his refusal to slow down. In his 80s, Chuck remains active, promoting fitness, health, and positivity. He's proof that age is just a number when you have got the willpower and a solid workout routine. Sure, he might not be jumping out of helicopters or battling ninjas on screen anymore, but Chuck's impact is timeless. He's a cultural icon, an inspiration for anyone who's ever been knocked down, and a reminder that strength comes not just from muscles, but from perseverance. From the shy kid in Oklahoma to the martial arts master in South Korea, from the Hollywood action star to the walker who ruled our TV screens, Chuck Norris has lived a life that's worthy of the legend. And yes, even the jokes. He's faced his fears, fought his battles, and emerged victorious every time. Because at the end of the day, when life tries to roundhouse kick you, you better hope you've got a little bit of Chuck Norris inside of you. And remember, Chuck Norris doesn't do push-ups. He pushes the earth away.